This is RTV6 News at 6, working for you.
Thanks for joining us tonight at 6 o'clock. I'm Nicole Griffin. To be determined. That is the latest word on buses running tomorrow, coming directly from the school bus drivers of Indianapolis Public Schools. And now tonight, IPS is encouraging parents to make alternative transportation plans. RTV6's Cameron Riddle is the first reporter to speak directly to bus drivers. And Cameron, they had a lot to say.
Yes, they did indeed, Nicole. Now, that announcement from IPS came shortly after the IPS bus drivers spoke exclusively with me on the radio this morning, refuting the IPS superintendent's Friday press conference when she referred to the bus drivers who called in sick as rogue employees.
First, we want the community to know that it was in no shape or form a retaliation into regards of them giving the contract to first student. Push through it.
Yolanda Gray and Catherine Beeler, two former IPS bus drivers, came on my radio show Open Lines and spoke to me and my co-host Ebony Chappelle on behalf of the current IPS bus drivers that we had in the studio but are not showing you as they fear retaliation from the school district. The drivers say Friday was not a protest, but instead was drivers in attendance using their allotted paid time off, which they fear they may lose and not be paid for at the end of the school year.
I was eligible for those sick days because I came to work every day. You got people that have maybe over 4,800 sick days, and you're going to tell them you're not getting that money.
What happens tomorrow?
It's to be determined. That's all that we can say, but I mean, it's to be determined.
And as tomorrow appears to still be up in the air when it comes to the buses, IPS says schools will be open tomorrow. For many families, that is not only raising questions about how 30,000 students will spend the day, but also how many of those students who depend on school lunch will get a meal to eat. In the studio tonight, I'm Cameron Riddle, RTV6.
Cameron, thank you. And tonight, as mentioned, IPS is recommending that families look for alternative ways to get students to school on Monday. In a tweet sent out this morning from the district, they say parents should consider carpooling, using rideshare companies or public transportation. The district says it is continuing to work with AFSCME union leadership and will provide an update on transportation later today. Our Rafael Sanchez sat down with IPS Superintendent Alicia Johnson for a one-on-one interview Friday and asked specifically about plans for tomorrow.
On Monday, the hope would be that everyone's back to work and it's business as usual, but we are planning for that worst case scenario so that, again, we can communicate to families and they have the ability to get ready if they need to be thinking about something different.
IPS is posting updates on social media, and they also have a page on the district's website dedicated to answering questions about the bus driver call-offs. On that page, it says IPS schools will be open Monday regardless of the transportation situation. Further saying Monday routes have not been determined. The district says they are asking all employees who called off Friday to consider the impact of their decision on IPS students and their families. The bus driver call-offs are also impacting hundreds of students that rely on meal services from their school. On a typical Friday, a number of schools send students home with food for the weekend, but due to those call-offs, many students did not have that opportunity. The superintendent says hundreds of kids rely on getting to school in order to have breakfast, lunch, and a snack during the week. She says knowing the call-offs impacted their ability to not only get their education, but also eat angers her.
I don't believe that folks would set out to intentionally hurt our students, but the reality is there is a hurtful impact when that decision was made. And so there's no getting away from the fact that there were a number of students negatively impacted as it relates to their ability to access food.
And we have asked IPS several questions today about what parents should know ahead of Monday, including plans for food service tomorrow for students who may be impacted if there is no bus service. IPS says they are still assessing the situation and finalizing contingency plans, and parents will be updated. This is, of course, a developing story, and we will update you on the very latest as soon as we learn new information. Now to your Storm Team 6 forecast. Meteorologist Kyle Mount standing by. Kyle, what a beautiful Sunday.
Yeah, and what a weekend it has been. We started off Saturday morning in the teens at 17 degrees. This afternoon in Indianapolis, all the way to 62. That is a 45-degree temperature change here over the course of the weekend. And even though some locations didn't make it into the 60s, like Tipton at 57, still feeling pretty good compared to where we've been the last couple of days. It's 57 as well in Muncie. And Bedford still sitting well in the 60s right now at 63 degrees. The clouds have returned, but Storm Team 6 radar is dry. As we look back to the southwest, we do see a few of those showers breaking out around the Ohio River and back into portions of Arkansas. And eventually we'll get in on some rain chances. But this evening, I think just a stray shower through 10 o'clock. Those temperatures still mild in the 50s.
All right, Kyle, thank you. Well, it is that time again. Every 10 years, every person living in the United States is counted by the Census Bureau. Troy Washington is working for you to explain why it's so important that everyone gets counted.
We probably help somewhere in the area of 400 to 500 families with emergency rent and utility assistance. You know, most of those dollars come through FEMA funds. So we're talking about federal funds.
Tony Mason is the CEO of the Indianapolis Urban League. Making sure everyone is counted in this census matters because an undercount means less money to go towards helping families in need.
The federal government allocates $675 billion towards social efforts, things such as housing, education.
In order to dispel some of the fears that might be keeping people from taking part in the census, Mason points out it's all private. The information won't be released to police or immigration and customs enforcement. In fact, there aren't even questions about citizenship.
If we experience an undercount, then it will affect funding for vital programs and services, not only here in Indianapolis, but across our entire state.
On April 1st, the census is expected to be completed. The head of the household must include everyone living inside of the home. Mason can't stress enough what could happen if everyone isn't counted in.
Everything from Medicaid, SNAP, WIC, all sorts of public assistance programs will then be underfunded. Necessary, it is vital, it is hugely important. We put the census count, it's right there with voting in each election and at every level of government.
If forms are not completed on April 1st, the Census Bureau will follow up in person in an effort to get the most accurate count possible. Working for you, Troy Washington, RTV6.
Troy, thank you. The Census Bureau is also partnering with pediatricians and child advocates to make sure all children are also counted in the 2020 census. Dashcam video catches a chase that ended with the arrest of a robbery suspect in Monroe County. Monroe County Sheriff's deputies were looking for the suspect near State Road 45 and South Harmony Road early Saturday morning. The suspect led deputies on a chase after a deputy tried to stop the minivan the suspect was driving. Deputies used a spike to deflate the tires on the minivan. The man continued driving for about a mile before running away. Deputies eventually caught him. They say he had items in his possession that were stolen during a robbery in Seymour in Jackson County. A traffic alert tonight. The next phase of construction for the State Road 37 project in Fishers is now underway. Phase 3 of work at the 126th Street and State Road 37 interchange includes closing the west side of 126th Street. It will remain closed until July. The third phase of construction will be the excavation of the intersection and construction of the bridge on 126th Street. During this time, drivers will not have cross access and all left turns will be restricted. State Road 37 will not be closed during this phase, but southbound traffic will shift to the northbound lanes and 2 lanes will remain open in each direction. You can still access nearby businesses from Lantern Road.
For the traffic, they just need to keep their eyes open and be aware and slow down through all the traffic. Potentially take different routes, plan times at different times of day when it's not as busy.
And to get around this area, use 116th Street or 131st Street to Allisonville Road. The entire goal of this project is to reduce congestion and improve safety along State Road 37 in Fishers and Noblesville by replacing signalized intersection with raised roundabouts and separated interchanges. Tonight, a domestic violence survivor is sharing her latest mission to give back to other women in our community. And this It is all about providing them with a new pair of shoes. Danielle Smith is the founder of Silent No More. She's planning an event called Walk It Out Women's Wellness Shoe Explosion. Registration just opened today, and for the event on April 25th, Smith will be giving out 350 pairs of brand new shoes that will help women feel confident, shoes they can wear into their next job interview. She started Silent No More after getting out of a relationship in 2014 where she was experiencing domestic violence, and since then she aims to provide awareness, prevention, and education on domestic violence and teen dating abuse.
I didn't have anyone like me. I didn't know anyone who was going through domestic violence. When I got out in 2014, there was no one on Facebook talking about domestic violence that was very transparent with it. So I knew that being in their shoes, that I would be able to help them the same way I needed help.
This is the first year for the event hosted by Silent No More, but Smith says there was already a lot of excitement. There will not only be free shoes, but there will also be wellness booths, and the health department will be there doing screenings. You can register online right now on Eventbrite. It's being held on April 25th at the Event Center at Holy Angels Church on West 28th Street. Just a day after the first coronavirus-related death in the U.S. was confirmed, another state announces its first case of the virus, and tonight health officials warn more infections are expected. Kyle.
Rain chances rising tonight, and it looks like it's going to be a fairly soggy Monday morning for us. I'll let you know how much wet weather this round is going to bring. You're watching RTV6 News at 6.
Exclusively at Menards. This is RTV6 News at 6, working for you.
The latest now on the coronavirus outbreak. Today, Rhode Island announced a presumptive positive test result for the virus. Here's ABC's Kaylee Hartung with the latest on the COVID-19 outbreak.
Rhode Island reporting its first presumptive positive case of COVID-19 on Sunday, a patient who traveled to Italy in mid-February.
We have been preparing for weeks for this eventuality, and we have an excellent plan in place. So the message is be careful and be vigilant, but don't panic.
Newly discovered cases in California and Oregon among people who haven't traveled internationally or had close contact with people known to have the virus have some health experts worrying COVID-19 may be spreading through West Coast communities. In Washington state, 2 more cases confirmed on Sunday. On Saturday, the governor declaring a state of emergency after the first known novel coronavirus death in the U.S. at a Seattle hospital. A man in his late 50s with underlying health conditions. He had no known travel abroad. A few miles away, warnings of a potential outbreak at a nursing care facility. 2 people testing positive, while dozens more are showing symptoms and now being tested. The Trump administration is looking to reassure Americans.
The risk to any individual American's low. We're seeing some community spreading, but they've got the finest public health system in the world and the finest public health experts.
As the number of cases in Italy and South Korea continue to increase, Americans are being warned to avoid travel to certain areas. Delta, United, and American Airlines have already suspended all flights to and from mainland China and Hong Kong and are now canceling flights to Milan, where cases of the virus have soared, and offering travel waivers to Italy. In France, officials have banned many large public gatherings, and the famed Louvre Museum has closed its doors on Sunday amid fears the flow of visitors from around the world could spread the virus. Kaylee Hartung, ABC News, Seattle.
Kaylee, thank you. Incredible video out of New York where some homes are completely encased in ice. These waterfront homes are on Lake Erie in Hamburg, and all of this ice is the result of 2 straight days of gale force winds and freezing temperatures. But before we get to your Storm Team 6 forecast tonight, I know that video was shocking, but we do have some new information just into the newsroom that former South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg is ending his presidential run. The New York Times is reporting this following a poor performance in Saturday's South Carolina primary. We will have much more on this developing story tonight at 11. But now to your forecast. It is a nice Sunday outside.
Yeah, pretty incredible here for our weather, considering where we started off Saturday morning in the teens. And
Wow.
this afternoon into the 60s, still feeling pretty good out there. We've got numbers still in the 60s for you in Bloomington at 63, 55 in Zionsville, and downtown Indianapolis at 59 degrees. As we look over the city, you can see those clouds are scooting along, and it has been a bit of a breezy day. That warm south wind, about 15 miles per hour for us this evening, and that's going to keep us mild even in the overnight. We're going to be benefiting here. Temperatures into the middle 40s is where we will start off our Monday, and we look at where that rain is right now, and it stretches back into portions of Arkansas, starting to see a couple of showers around the Evansville area. But I think between now and about 11 o'clock, most of us are going to be dry. Here is 11 o'clock on TrueCast, and you can see a few of those showers around Nashville, Indiana, back through the Bloomington area and Sullivan, continuing to fill in. And it's not out of the question we hear a rumble of thunder or two here as we go through the overnight. Then we will see this rain starting to kind of taper off pretty quickly into the morning. But tomorrow, I think as you head out the door, you're certainly going to need that umbrella here, as we'll have fairly widespread rain. But already by 8 a.m., we're starting to see the organized shower activity pushing toward the south and east. So I think we do start to dry out here as we head into our Monday afternoon, and really temperatures are going to be pretty comfortable. Now, it was a very soggy month of February, so we don't need any additional rain right now. Fortunately, with the quick movement of this system, we should be about a half inch or less of rainfall here over about the next 24 hours. Temperatures still going to make their way into the 50s tomorrow, so maybe not quite as warm as today, but still above average and feeling pretty good. 53 in Bloomington, 50 in Lafayette, and 50 for you in Noblesville. And that warmer air is going to be sticking around here, especially during the afternoon hours. We've got highs that are going to be in the 50s the next several days. Put it all together now in your 7-day planning forecast, and we see a lot of dry time in here, and that is certainly needed as we start off the month of March. There are those overnight lows. They will get a little bit cooler, but back into the 30s. We'll keep those highs in the 50s through Thursday, then a little cooler as we end the week. Friday, a high of 45, and going into next weekend, we've got temperatures that start to rebound again, and we spring forward. Means we lose that hour of sleep.
Next Sunday?
Next weekend, yeah, next Saturday night into Sunday.
Looks like a nice week ahead.
It is, yeah.
All right, Kyle, thank you. Well, with scammers now using computers to recreate your voice, we're going inside one of the classes that's learning how to prevent this nationwide. That story coming up.
2 clinical trials.
We've told you how scammers are getting more high-tech, turning to voice cloning to try to get your personal information and your money. And now students at college campuses are learning about the latest technology to better understand how to prevent it. Annie Taylor has the story.
Move over facial recognition and make way for voice cloning technology.
I will be able to make you speak anything I want.
Voice cloning is the next way some are hoping to deceive you.
Fraud has and will continue to be committed this way.
Voice cloning captures the essence of your voice.
Capture intonation, tones rising and falling. And even if you go deeper or higher or any of those sorts of things, your voice is still your voice.
Hackers clone voices of people you know and then use that fake voice to call you and scam you into giving up personal information and even money. The latest AI technology is now being studied at colleges across the country.
I record some of your voice. It could be picked up from anywhere online if you have anything recorded, or just from conversation or phone call, and then you clone your voice.
Student Alexander Lubomirov says downloading voice cloning software takes some online work, but it's not tough for a tech-savvy person to do. But we're not going to show you the exact steps.
Everything is open. Everything is online.
Alexander took a clip of me speaking off my YouTube channel.
If you're new here, my name's Annie.
And placed it in the voice cloning program. And a few seconds later,
I am not a fake voice. Generated a couple minutes ago. Please believe me. I kind of sound like a Valley girl.
Now, I might not think it sounds like me.
It's not meant to trick you.
Yeah. It's just supposed to be close enough where it could trick someone from your extended family. Voice cloning is not all bad. Metro State University of Denver computer science professor Steve Beatty says voice cloning is another form of authentication, or it's a way to send a voice text. It can even help give a voice to those who have lost the ability to speak. With every new technology to hit the market, we have to weigh the security hazards and the convenience it provides. I'm Annie Taylor reporting.
Annie, thank you. And when it comes to making sure you or your family doesn't fall victim, remember, if something sounds fishy, it probably is. And if someone is asking for personal information or money, ask questions that you or your family only know the answers to. We'll be right back after this break with a final check of your forecast.
Ask your rheumatologist about Cosentix.
1 in 7 Hoosiers turn to food pantries or meal service programs to feed their families. Today, hundreds of volunteers went to work to help those in need. This was the scene inside the Pack Away Hunger event on the northeast side today. Volunteers packed about 7,000 nutritious, easy-to-prepare meals. Today is not necessarily a day you want to be inside.
No, get out there this evening. Enjoy some of that nice weather. Tomorrow morning, we'll have some rain, but drying out into the afternoon and highs in the 50s.
All right, Kyle, thank you, and thanks for joining us. Have a great night.